Okay, welcome back to part 2 of my narration of my article about the Newberg Equity in Education Mafia. And this is just picking up from where I left off. Made a couple corrections to previous typos that I pointed out, and removed some information such as I had noticed that Jeff Green, who is the person who actually registered the Recall Brian Shannon PAC, I thought that he was a member of the group, but I couldn't find him in the member list, so I've removed that, and let's just continue on. As such, it is clear that the Democrat Party in Oregon is interfering with the local Newberg politics. We have several Democratic-affiliated people all involved in this little need group, and so their political activity is, in my opinion, partisan and not nonpartisan. It's aligned with the Democrats, and that is why a political consultant who works for Kate Brown's campaign, or at least he did, is involved in the school board recall effort against Brian Shannon. I'll talk more about this in the Hatch Act violations section of this article. Anyway, near as I can tell, the group was created specifically to push the critical race theory, racist ideologies onto kids, and has always been an extension of the teacher union until it merged with a few other groups of non-teachers. It still primarily consists of teachers, though. And citing here an article, a post by Beth McDonough Woolsey into the group on July 13th, 2020. You can see that she's an admin. And here she says, this action group is a result of yesterday's Sunday, July 12th meeting of like-minded individuals. Next steps for anti-racism. Deeply concerned about recent events in which 2 Newberg Public School board members have expressed their disapproval and wariness of the anti-racism resolution passed by the board on June 23rd. The group was made up of Newberg Public School parents, teachers, staff, former students, and 1 current student. 3 are people of color, 2 teachers, and a current student. As a result of that meeting, we have several action initiatives ahead of us. The group will not pursue a recall of the 2 board members of Dave Brown and Brian Shannon right now, and they also are calling the Yamhill County office to ask what's involved in a recall effort. So they were looking into it even way back in July 2020. Okay, they were still looking to recall members even back then, long before the ban, simply because they disagreed with teaching critical race theory to the kids. They're also planning to increase their public comment presence. Their coordinated effort to get their members to flood the school board meetings at the public comment session with only their supporters, which was permitted under the previous school board control, which, you know, Brandy Penner, who is a member of NEED, allowed them to do because she was the chair. They're not happy about it anymore now that they have lost control over the board. Advocating for Newberg Public School System Board to adopt critical race theory so they can operate from common definitions of racism, systemic racism, bias, discrimination, etc. Our board shouldn't have to be recreating the wheel with debating what racism is or whether it's active and present. More on this soon. So as you can see right here in this, I probably should have highlighted this in the article. I may still do so, okay? They clearly had it on its agenda to teach critical race theory from the start. From the start, okay? Actually, I'm going to do that. I'm going to screenshot this just as a note to myself. Sorry I'm delaying here, but right here. This is very important, okay? Advocating to adopt critical race theory, which proves the anti-racism resolution was specifically to teach critical race theory in the schools. So you can read the rest of this yourself as you want. They're also talking about advocating for an ad hoc board committee, okay, creating board committees as part of their secret fucking mafia group here. Sorry I'm cursing, but like this is just insane what they've done. Creating invisible government within the school system and the city of Newberg. Okay, the City of Newberg City Hall, because, as I've pointed out here, several members of City Hall, elected and appointed officials, are part of the NEED group, and they coordinate amongst each other to basically plan how they're going to take over the town. The group then merged about a month later with several other groups, okay, after this previous meeting. And the action items here, it shows that they are moving with the Community Wellness Collective, which is how Kristen Stoller and Elise Holloman are very intertwined, okay? Newberg Education Foundation, which is they're also a part of. Pride Flag, it says P Flag, but it's Pride Flag, which is ran by Joshua Reed and Rebecca Swindle. They're both at the school, I believe. And then Anti-Racism Collective, which is Sarah Whedon and David James. Parent leader groups, such as with Sarah Lebeda Moore. Newberg Public Library. See, check out their Anti-Racism Family Book Club. So this is not a conspiracy that I have invented, okay? This is their fucking plans. Kind of cursing again, but August 27th, 2020. They have planned all of this. They have specifically planned how they can gain control over public utilities to be able to distribute their cult ideology. They're using the schools, they're using the city hall, and they're using the public library. Okay, so let's continue. You know what is sad is when I was a kid, parent orgs and teachers wanted to enrich kids' lives, not steal their futures by teaching them racist nonsense and how to hate other people and call it love. By the way, your school board banned Confederate flags and other symbols of white supremacy on campus while endorsing Black Lives Matter and pride flags, but now you're upset that the new school board members want to also ban all signs of political nature to ensure all of this crap is out of the campuses. The hypocrisy is unreal. You guys in need just want to ban the stuff you didn't like. The new board members are trying to keep all political campaigning out of the schools. Anyway, before the ban on political symbols, the group was used to coordinate the school board elections for Ty Hardin Moore and Inez Lapina Anaya, I think that's how you pronounce her name, which means technically its activities are also intertwined with their PACs, because both of these individuals have PACs, and likely causes issues for the current political activities of the group and its new agenda to do recalls and whatnot. I'm not sure of the legality of all this, though, and after everything I have written, I am trying to sort that out later. Okay? Here's a message from Cheris Bach, who works at George Fox University as a professor. You can see that back in May 2nd, they were doing these flag campaigns promoting their election for the school board. That's what they were doing here at the flagpole. And now, they, of course, they host the same meetings to tell everybody that Newberg is full of a bunch of racists, and they need to recall school board members. So they're just doing the same thing that they had been doing before. There's nothing unique about their activities as a response to the ban on Black Lives Matter flags, okay? That's what people need to understand. They were doing all the same shit before. Proof that need is a cult using psychologically manipulative tactics to control its mob. I believe that NEED, like many Black Lives Matter splinter groups like it, have organized their political activist group as a kind of cult, and are using the psychological manipulation tactics of cults to steer the mob in whatever direction they like. Tay Hardin Moore has a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. She should be aware of the manipulative tactics and would know how to construct them and carry them out. This is studied in psychology. Here are examples of various cult behaviors I could see among these leaders online when I debated them in public Newberg-related Facebook posts, okay? So as an example here, we have someone who responded to my article, one of my previous articles, Liz Carefa, who says, the post that you're making is showing the undealt with racism within you. I don't believe races exist, but hey, somehow I must still have racism within me, guys, okay? I literally don't believe that races exist, but I must still be racist, which is as insane as accusing someone of being who is atheist that they still must believe in God. Okay, it's complete bonkers. Or even the verse, right? Like accusing someone like you claim you're a Christian, but you must really still believe in Allah, right? Like it's complete nonsense. I don't believe in races. I can't be racist because I don't believe that races exist. You have to believe races exist to be able to make racial prejudice viewpoints about another person. It's impossible. But hey, she still accuses me of doing that, even though I explain this in my article. I still have undealt with racism. What does Kristen Stoller do? She says, "You are such a kind, beautiful, light, shining soul." Why? Why does she deserve these comments? Oh, because she accused me of being a racist, which was a nonsensical argument. I pointed out, Kristen Stoller, is your intention in giving a positive affirmation every time someone accuses me of being a racist to love bomb the individual? You realize love bombing is a cult tactic, correct? I guess I didn't explain what love bombing is. But if most people, probably are familiar with the idea of a love bomb, right? Cults, they're constantly giving positive affirmations to members to make them feel welcome and accepted and that their behavior is correct, like it's morally good. And so they'll have somebody do something that's absolutely terrible, right? They'll do something absolutely terrible, and the group will show them, they'll just devour love upon them, okay? They'll just shower it on them. They'll just be covered in love, at least the feelings of love, from all these positive affirmations. That's what love bombing is. And that's designed to reward a person, okay? They get a little kick of dopamine. It rewards a person for doing what the cult wants them to do. Anything the cult doesn't want them to do, they shower them with negativity. They bully them. They start ostracizing them. They risk losing that tribal support network if they do something that the cult doesn't want them to do. That's how the love bombing tactic works. So, you'll frequently see their members posting this kind of stuff about how someone is beautiful and brave and everything else every time they parrot the critical race theory talking points in the face of valid criticism of the ideology, such as I have given in prior articles. A lot of my prior articles on Facebook, in the various Newberg Facebook groups, every time one of their members criticizes me or criticizes my article, another member pops up and says that they're a super great, brave person. Okay, like literally every time. It's nuts. Ty also likes to preach to the whites in town as if they are small children, as she rambles a lot of motivated reasoning. Previously explained, motivated reasoning is a psychological phenomenon where a person believes that the ideas are correct because they affirm how a person already feels about an issue. That's what motivated reasoning is. It's another way of saying emotional reasoning, but it's more specific. Motivated reasoning nonsense designed to rile people up into following her and to hating their neighbors. Here's an example from within the group chats. Here's Ty Hardmore, her July 25th post, Ty's Equity Corner. Angela Davis said, "In a racist society, it is not enough to be non-racist. We must be anti-racist." In his book, How to Be an Anti-Racist, Dr. Ibram Kendi said, "The heartbeat of racism itself has always been denial, and the sound of that heartbeat has always been, I'm not racist." And so what I'm trying to do with my work is to really get Americans to eliminate the concept of not racist from their vocabulary and realize we're either being racist or anti-racist, which is absolute emotional reasoning, okay? They're basically saying that you either can only be a racist person, or you can be a person that acknowledges your own racism and fights other racists. That's what anti-racist means, okay? This is absolute nonsense. Of course, this is only being specific to white people, by the way. It's very important that you understand that. She's only talking to the white people here, okay? She's not talking to people who are black and brown in her terminology. Her kindergarten level colored terminology, all right? They are reaffirming these crazy ideas with these constant Tay's Equity Corner posts that she makes within the group, and they all just eat it up. Of course, Ty neglects to mention that within her framework, equity doesn't mean what everyone thinks it means. It has a special redefinition so that it means removing whites from power in America, which is how the redistribution happens. The ultimate goal of the ideology is to fragment our society so much they can create black separatist communities. And these idiots are following her blindly. You can see I've shown who's here. Some of the people who liked this post were Brandy Penner and Rebecca Pyros, who are both Newberg Public School Board members. There are also several Newberg School District faculty employees too, as well as Megan Corvus, the representative for Yamhill Democrats. I realize I didn't read the rest of it where I talked about the equity. Let's go to that part here because that's important. Tay wrote, "Anti-racism is the policy or practice of opposing racism and promoting racial tolerance. It examines the imbalances between people of color and white people. Okay? It's specifically about imbalances between people of color, using her terms, and white people. Anti-racism is the active process, active just meaning something that's happening, right? Of identifying and eliminating racism by changing systems, organizational structures, policies, practices, and attitudes so that power is redistributed and shared equitably. Okay, that's what I'm pointing out here. This little part here about how their belief system is about, they're going to eliminate racism, which they have redefined as something that only white people can do, by changing systems, organizational structures, policies, and practices, and people's attitudes, so that power, which in this context means institutional power, okay, is redistributed and shared equitably. And equitably in this context is not as individuals, it's as groups, okay? That's what equitable means within their framework. So what does that mean altogether? I mean, what do you think it means? It means they're trying to change American society so that black people and brown peoples can have more institutional power as a group. And the goal of that is to implement segregation. That's what it is actually about. Ty Hardin Moore admits her definition of racism is prejudice plus power, just like I said it was. Here, Ty admits that the definition of racism I have accused her of believing in is in fact the definition she believes in. This is important because in a prior post, she said that I had taken her out of context, okay, when I accused her of believing in prejudice plus power. And apparently, this is a post where she thinks that if she can just reword the sentence, that it will have a totally different meaning. But it doesn't, right? What is racism? The marginalization and or oppression of people of color based on a socially constructed racial hierarchy that privileges white people. Okay? Now, if you've watched or even read this article before, you will note that the definition of racism within critical race theory is racial prejudice plus institutional power equals racism. That's what it's required, right? It's not enough to just be racially prejudiced against another person. You also have to have institutional power, systems of privilege, which is basically, control over a company or something in government or some other type of system, essentially. And this argument is made specifically to say that because only white people are benefited by institutional power in America, that means only white people can be racist. Everybody else who's racially prejudiced, that's not racism because they don't have any power, you see. That's how this little trick of wordplay comes in. They're crafting a narrative using some semantical argument is basically what they've done. And as you can see here, she said, what's racism? Marginalization or oppression of people of color based on socially constructed racial hierarchy. Okay? What does that mean? That's systems of power. Okay? It's the oppression of people of color based on a system of power that privileges white people. That is literally the same thing as racial prejudice plus institutional power equals racism. It's the exact same belief, people. She just rephrased the sentence. That's all she did. She thinks racism is something only whites can be against others, and racial prejudice by people of other ethnicities, such as her own, is not racist. This is simply a long-winded way of saying racism equals prejudice plus power. And who liked her posts? A lot of people liked her posts. Ty's beliefs are racist things to believe. Oh, I think I showed who liked that post before already, actually. I showed it right here. So I guess I need to fix this little area because I've taken something out of context. But you can see right here that all these people liked the post, which included Brandy Penner and Rebecca Pyros, who are school board members. Okay? Ty is also, like many control freaks, forcing herself to be the appointed leader who must explain the rhetoric using motivated reasoning to bully people who dissent into submission. Here's Summer saying that I heard Black Lives Matter organization has so much negative press and such a strong anti-police ties that although they might support black students and lives, it's too political and people won't support the movement. So what does Ty say about this? Okay? Ty says, my suggestion is to send them my way so I can tell those people in no uncertain terms that they are part of the problem. That's right. If you think that we need police in this country, guys, you're part of the problem. If we are standing up for students, we need to be standing up for all students, and the truth of the matter is that both students of color and LGBTQ plus students are under attack. They're under attack, guys, and both need our protection and deserve our concern. Got to protect them from the police, apparently. You know, here's the thing that a lot of people don't always understand about people's motivations. If somebody doesn't like the police, it's probably because they're doing something the police want to arrest them for, or would arrest them for, okay? And as we can see within the Newberg Equity and Education Group, they break a lot of laws. A lot of laws. Okay? So it's no surprise that they don't like the police. Let's continue. Ty also tries to make the tired argument that Black Lives Matter is just a slogan, when it's not. It's a slogan just like Black Power is the slogan for a black separatist ideology. And like the Black Panther Party, which Tay admired in her prior writings, and I quote the article here I made before where she praised the Black Panther Party from the 1970s. She is engaged in the same kinds of crimes the Black Panthers were known for, using intimidation and fear to get their way. Here's Ty's words. The statement, Black Lives Matter, is a separate and apart from the organization Black Lives Matter. Amazing. Amazing how that's like trying to say, that's like trying to say make America great again as a separate statement than Donald Trump's campaign. It's absolute nonsense. Anyway, continuing on, I believe that anyone who refuses to understand the statement Black Lives Matter is making a conscious decision to link the two, and for me that begs the question, why? While not the case for everyone, some folks do not want to say the statement that Black Lives Matter because if they do, then they will have to acknowledge their goal in the oppression of black people. That's right. The only reason you would be uncomfortable with supporting a black separatist movement that wants to defund the police, let anarchy take over the streets of America, and also wants to indoctrinate most of the country into believing that anyone who's white owes a blood debt to anyone who's not. The only reason anybody would be against that organization is because they're racist, guys. Okay, only reason at all. What nonsense. This is just another example of a single cause fallacy that Ty frequently makes, because that's what her ideology teaches her to do. Okay? Continue on. It's no coincidence that the group Ty is leading is engaging in crimes. She told us all publicly she wanted people to be accomplices instead of just allies. I talked about this previously in the last video. Black Lives Matter is a hate group. It hates whites, and it hates America, and it encourages people to commit crimes and uses a bunch of motivated reasoning nonsense, as I have written about in my prior articles. This is why the group Ty created in town turned into a criminal enterprise. That's what Black Lives Matter's ideology does to people. Okay? Here's a thing where Jerry Witherspoon says, several years ago, your words would have bewildered me. In fact, I would have said, I love all people. I don't see color. I know better now. But it took a lot of work and mentor, a black woman who let me be ignorant and ask stupid questions. That's right. Just sort of, throw yourself down on your knees before the powerful, strong mentor here, Ty Hardin Moore, who previously you weren't a racist person. Previously, you didn't judge people based on the color of their skin. And you just, you were accepting of all people. But now, after Ty Hardin Moore is fucking in town, okay, now you are a racist person who's engaging in a criminal conspiracy against the other residents of the town you live in, and likely the rest of the country, and definitely in helping them break numerous laws related to the school district. That's what it does. That's what Black Lives Matter's ideology does to people, okay? Someone who it just admitted several years ago she was a common humanist. Now she's a common enemy person. Now she hates people. She didn't say it, but I assume her goal here is to virtue signal, was to applaud Ty, who is probably the black woman who let her be ignorant. I mean, Ty is I'm trying to think here. If there is another black woman in the need group, I don't think that there is. I could be wrong on that. There's like 600 members. But Ty is definitely the one who posts the most. She might be the only black woman in the entire group. So I can only assume she's the one they're referring to. Let's continue. Probably the black woman who let her be ignorant, I got this in quotations here because I don't like these terms, or rather, who filled her head with a bunch of motivated reasoning nonsense based on anecdotal experiences, convinced her that she was in fact inherently racist because of the color of skin she was born with, and that now she must become an ally accomplice for the cult. Here's a thread I want to share because it really illustrates how much of a cult this thing actually is. Here's a post on August 11th from Elaine Hayworth Koskela. Brian Shannon started last night at 3:48. It is not fair for one particular ideology, the ideology of social justice, to declare itself above the fact that it is an ideology and claim that everyone has to support it was said in most of the emails from the people who support having this in our schools. They call these social justice symbols. Social justice is an ideology that people can legitimately oppose, and having an ideology endorsed by the state school systems in this manner is not appropriate and needs to end. And they find this to be a problem. Okay, they say it was word salad. And yes, it's word salad, guys. It's not word salad. He just said that the school should not be used to push a social justice ideology onto the children, a political ideology. That's not word salad. That's a sane statement. Okay, she says, so pretty clearly he does not support social justice, neither should government schools because it's an ideology. Wow. No, it shouldn't, because that's not the purpose of the schools. Schools isn't to teach you a fringe social justice ideology that was literally made up by black separatists. That's not what it's for. Okay? So you can read more of this on your own time if you want. I'm not going to go through all of it. But this is the part I really want to point out. My pastor's thoughts on things, last two are the best, okay? And I am going to show this, okay? I'm definitely going to show this because I'm really going to show this because then you'll really understand that they really are a cult, okay? They really are a cult.
Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me, all of us under its spell.
So look, you got this guy, like, he literally has a rainbow collar here, okay? He's apparently, this is apparently their pastor, Pastor Adam, okay? He literally is decked out in rainbows, and he's turned his collar into a rainbow. And you try to tell me that this isn't a cult? Like, literally. What is going on here? Is there any other way to look at this? Okay? There's a bunch of videos where he does this nonsense, okay? Let's continue on. No, I guess there was a different video about the boys. I wanted to show you this too, okay?
And can you show me something you really love right now?
Hey, Lucas. Hey, Lucas. Can I show you something that I really love too? Fingernail polish. That's right. I love fingernail polish. You see, fingernail polish is cool, and it's genderless, so anybody can wear fingernail polish. And typically, everybody loves fingernail polish. But you know what, Lucas? There are some people in this world who are just mean. They feel really bad about themselves, and so to make themselves feel good, they try to make fun of other people. And so, Lucas, if anybody ever makes fun of you for fingernail polish, know that it's just them feeling bad about themselves.
So basically, the advice to the young boy, okay, is that if anybody makes fun of you for anything, it must be because they're bad and not because you're doing anything bad, which is a bad message to send to children. Because there are times where a child is doing something wrong, other people are pointing it out. So it's bad rhetoric here. There has to be a reason why what someone's bullying you over is irrelevant. And he never explains that. He simply says, oh, anybody who bullies you, they're the bad guys, okay? And second of all, just the topic itself, right? Go to school covered in rainbow fingernail polish. That's a bad idea to say to a young boy, okay? Because the reality is that that is a symbol associated with being gay. If you're not gay, you probably shouldn't do that. If you are gay, I mean, I still think you probably shouldn't do it because I'm opposed to the idea of kids covering themselves in political symbols. I don't think that's good. It doesn't matter what political symbol it is. I would be just as, irritated if the kid came to school with a MAGA hat, all right? It's simply about the principle of it that the school is not a place to indoctrinate kids into political ideologies. And you know darn well that a kid who does something like this is most likely going to be bullied by other kids. They really are. And that's the bad message to send to kids. Like, they're intentionally trying to get kids to do things that their peers will ridicule them for, which is not good. Kids need to learn social norms so they can fit in with society, so they can get along with others, so they can thrive in life. All this, let's all dress up as clowns and go to school stuff every day is not what is going to lead to success in life for these kids. I mean, just look at the need group, okay? How successful are these people really in life? Well, they've decided to completely destroy their lives and everything that they've accomplished in life by joining a criminal organization. Think about that. Let's continue on. How is the Need Mafia cult organized? The formation of multiple groups in Newberg that have nearly identical member rosters seems to be motivated in making it appear to those outside the group there is more local resident support for their beliefs than actually exists in Newberg. Newberg has over 23,000 residents. This group represents at best around 590 people, 600 so, since writing this. And that's only if you include all the people who don't even live in this town, of which there are many. But my saying so is likely not enough evidence for you to believe my claims. I understand that. You want to peek behind the curtain and see what these people are really up to. So did I. So I took a peek and discovered quite a lot of things that really explains what is going on in Newberg and how Black Lives Matter groups like these operate. I also want to share a particular conversation for within the Need group, which I personally found highly amusing. The CM mentioned here, the CM is myself, Carrie Martell. Rebecca Swindle. Anyone up? Carrie Martell is trashing Tehard and Moore again in the Newberg Info Group, part 3 of his expose, with more racist lies. Let's get it removed quickly, report it to the admins. And to Facebook. Just reported for harassment, reported to Facebook too. There are so many of these groups, which one exactly is it? Newberg Dundee Info Group. Ah, thank you. It's showing up as a private group. Reported! Here is a thread here that needs reported regarding Ty. That page looks like it's just an echo chamber for David Claus. I'm not part of that group either, but it looks like he is basically the only one posting anything. I didn't see a post about Ty. Is it still there? I was thinking the same thing. Laugh my ass off. What a sad-ass dude who clearly is too nuts, even for this community, or he has driven them all away. He must be a blast to live with. I reported to Facebook for harassment. I just want to point out here, none of my posts get removed by Facebook for harassment. I have made YouTube videos for a very long time. I've had people try to bomb me in the past. I'm fairly certain that my Facebook account is in one of those tiers where there's manual reviews of anybody posting reporting my stuff, because people have tried to do this to my Facebook groups so many times in the past. So I don't think that this tactic will ever be successful, but I could be mistaken. Continuing on. Crystal Lawless. He's a clear narcissist, hoping to sound smart. I reported it and commented. Will probably remove my comment after a bit, since I don't actually want to engage with him. Yes, you didn't want to engage. You just wanted a virtue signal to the cult. How awesome you are. Rachel Staley. Report to admins in Facebook. 2 different things to pick. That likely won't do any good to report to admin. Ken Larson and Amber Dawson. She spoke for the band, won't address it, and will likely be tipped off that it's being reported. Said, well, Facebook can see admins are being negligent moderators if we report to both. Brady Zimmerman says, I'm completely blocked, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you kind of get the point. I don't have to read all of this stuff, right? They talk a lot about me in this group. As you can see, the members of Need can't engage in intellectual debates with me and are actually terrified of other people reading my articles to the point they have to coordinate false flagging my posts in a pathetic effort to try to censor me. Which, as you can see by reading this article, was entirely pointless. I cannot be censored. The entire world is going to hear what I have to say, and their control over the narrative is ending. By the by, to the members of Need who have read this far, I did tell you guys I have prior experience working in journalism. It's not my fault that you're so clueless you didn't think I knew anything about investigative reporting. It just shows how much of the cult's Kool-Aid you've drank to ignore that someone who has years of experience reporting on news is on your tail. Besides, I own a publishing company. I'm a writer. You guys literally know this. Your members mentioned one of my blogs and my published books in this thread. They claim to have watched my old YouTube channels where I did a mixture of comedy sketches and games journalism, including long editorial pieces into the history behind certain titles and the developers. Are you guys so dumb that you didn't think I could apply any of the skills I cultivated to any other topic besides games? You guys can't ignore me. You came to my hometown and you picked a fight. You took shots at the people I was raised by, at my friends and family. You called us all a bunch of racists and made up headlines you knew were deceptive in nature. Don't cry just because you're getting punched back. You guys started this, and I'm the one who is finishing it. By the way, Mr. Moore, because I should probably show this, because at least this part, because this is Ty's husband here, Andrew Moore. He says, "Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Ty Hardin Moore's husband. This guy is a non-issue in the Moore household. As long as he keeps it in the blogs, that's fine. Just keep it there. To think only one person has got him all up in a frenzy. He sounds obsessed, which I understand, because who wouldn't be? She's amazing, and a voice in the community, and all he has is a blog. Thanks all for your concerns. It's appreciated, though." And Andre says, "I hope this guy doesn't embolden any extremists to action. Be safe." That's right, reporting on the news emboldens extremists, people. Andre Moore says, "This harassment has been happening for the past 2 years. It's one man after another trying to attack Ty with blogs, articles, or whatever they call the rubbish they choke up. If they, extremists, feel the need to take action, then the job that Ty is doing in the community is effective." These people think that they're martyrs. There's approximately 15 to 20 million people across the country following the things that are happening in Newberg. The more they say Ty's name, the more attention they bring to her and to Newberg. If they were smart and don't want her on the local news, then they wouldn't mention her name like they obsessively do. So stupid. So dumb. So dumb. So, by the way, Mr. Moore, do you still think that any press is good press? This little racket you and Ty have going on is over. I was able to get inside your little group within 24 hours of deciding to do so. You guys literally just let me into your Need group when I asked to join. I hope that you realize your arrogant attitude has led to your undoing. Enough of the vented rant. Let's continue on with my reporting. Who else is in the Newberg Equity in Education Mafia? Here are some of the members of this group. This is another place where I put the, I will be putting this downloadable spreadsheet, which I'm referring to the Newberg Need Mafia, since they operate many different groups to create the appearance of having more support from local residents than they actually do, and I believe they are actually violating criminal conspiracy laws and how they are operating, which were specifically created to combat the criminal mafia activity, which is what I think they're doing. Most important members of the mafia to mention. You may initially assume that Tay Hardin Moore, Kristen Stoller, and the other admins are the most important members of the mafia, since they are the public-facing organizers of the Newberg group. But my belief is that Hardin Moore's group in Newberg is merely one of many such groups that are being orchestrated by Democratic Party officials in Oregon as a means of seizing and maintaining control over the largely conservative voting base in small towns like Newberg, through use of deceptive and manipulative tactics to intimidate compliance with their will, some of which I will be exposing in this article. The Newberg Teachers Union. First, let's talk about the Newberg Teacher Union, Newberg Education Association. I previously mentioned most of their membership is composed of these people, and that includes both their president and vice president, Andrew Gallagher. Proof that these are their union leaders, okay, right from their post on their Facebook page here. There's their Newberg Education Association Facebook page. And it says right here that Jennifer Snyder is the president and Andrew Gallagher is the vice president. And here's a close-up of it. And oh, here's Drew here. Here's Drew's LinkedIn page. He posts as Drew on Facebook, but I matched his photos to his LinkedIn page that says clearly that he is a teacher at Newberg School District, Andrew. Okay, I'm pretty sure that it's him. I'm pretty sure that's the same guy. That's the same asshole. Jennifer Beaver Snyder Facebook page is here, and here's the proof they are both in the Need Mafia and active posters. Okay, here she is posting into the group as a comment, right? Someone sent a letter off to the school board district, and here she is saying, you have a lot of people standing up for you always, and so do many others. We won't let you feel unsupported or alone. Here she is encouraging people to political activism in violation of the Hatch Act. Here's Drew Gallagher posting in here. We need to stop being surprised, stop being dumbfounded, stop being God-smacked, and start realizing there's a bunch of people who care more about outside influences, national politics, and vainglorious sound bites than actually preparing the district for teaching on a day-to-day basis. This is vice president of the union here, posted into Newberg Equity and Education, and saying that other people are having outside influences in the school district, which I find to be just completely insane. They're the ones doing it. Here's more posts of him, okay? For the last 20 years or so, it goes against what Republicans believe, so the best path for our country, they have adopted the unfortunate habit of labeling it as unpatriotic. So they're very active in the group, motivating other members of their union to organize and engage in political activity against the school board members who voted to ban critical race theory, which they want to teach and have been teaching in the schools, okay? Here's some more interesting activity involving this Need group. We will be running the Better Together shirts and spreadsheets. We'll have a link next week, which we'll share. And then they tag Jennifer Beaver Snyder. Says, I'll find out from her because she wants some more of these political t-shirts to distribute to children in the schools. There is a post where it's pointed out that Jennifer Snyder is involved with the Better Together t-shirt political campaign, which is designed to get all the students in the Newberg High School to wear pride flag colored t-shirts to school as a form of protest against the school board vote to ban political symbols such as pride flags, okay? And they posted here about this as well. Drew Snyder reshared a post from this teachers union Facebook page into the Newberg Equity in Education group, which shows that he is sending the communications of the union into the group. In the above screenshot, Andrew Gallagher, vice president of the Newberg Teacher Union, is sharing a press release message from the union he represents to the members of the Need group that contains many members of his union. Here's another screenshot showing a crossover between the teacher union and the Need group activities. Okay? Here's someone posting about working on signs for tomorrow's rally, and my son and I are both drawing a blank. What should we put on it? Drew Gallagher says, this school board violates several state laws concerning collective bargaining agreements and public meeting laws. In addition to that, they violate national laws, blah, blah, blah. The important thing is the collective bargaining agreements and so on and so forth, okay? So this is union business. This is him in his official capacity as a leader of the union, organizing other members of his union into political activity against the school board. The Need group is an extension of the teachers union. All of its activities, including the criminal activities, are part of the teachers union's activities. This is important to understand so that the full scope of how insane this criminal conspiracy actually is. The teachers union has become a mafia in Newberg, Oregon. It has become a mafia. Literally. It is literally a freaking mafia. It's insane, but it's true. People can read more of this. It goes on and on and on, but it's very important. See, Newberg Education Association called for the rally at the flagpole. You see, it's all part of their organization. As you can see, the union vice president, Andrew Gallagher, made a declaration that rallied the Need member. And when asked what is going on, another member points to the union's call for a protest rally, which is why the members are making signs. Here's a post about putting pride flags on the teacher union logo as a means to try to get around the ban. See? make some colorful pins with the teachers union logo on them with the LGBT, the transracial pride flag colors. Here are members of the NEED group talking about intentionally harassing the school board officials who voted to ban the politically divisive symbols from school campus with emails using a tactic known as paper terrorism that is designed to waste the time of public officials and therefore the resources of a public agency as a means of harassment and intimidation. Heather Ann, part of me wants to inundate them with complaints, but I realize it would just make educators' job harder and probably not. But Melanie Taylor says it would make sense to email the board and superintendent urging them to come up with examples of what isn't allowed for consistency. Educators could email their questions about what is and isn't allowed. Maybe they can ask a lot of questions. Okay, this is them talking about paper terrorism is what they're doing. They're even discussing a strike involving the students and teachers. So when do teachers and students strike? Just walk out. That's right. Get the students involved in our labor activities. We are recruiting the students of the school into our strike now against the school board, which is a violation of the Hatch Act. Kristen Stoller, I think something is in the works. We're working on this right now. And as you continue to see, there's quite a lot of recruitment of the students by the teachers union into the activities. Due to the actions of the union leaders within the NEED group, and that a large number of union members in the NEED group, it is either a union asset or an affiliated group to the union, unions being an IRC 501c5 classified under the IRS tax code. Anyone who is familiar with U.S. labor and tax laws might understand what direction we're about to head into. But for those who are not as aware, which is understandable, I want you to think about these two activities that Newberg Teacher Union is engaging in while I talk about the Hatch Act. Is the Hatch Act relevant? I believe so, yes. The Hatch Act is a very important law that restricts the political activities of federal employees. However, the definition of whom it applies to includes any and all employees of any company, whether private, nonprofit, municipal, state, etc., where a large portion of their funding derives from the federal government. The United States Office of Special Counsel, a federal investigative and prosecutional agency whose job is to enforce the Hatch Act, has a page about this. The Newberg Public School District is the benefit of federal funding via the funds that are distributed to the Oregon Department of Education directly by the federal government, and which it then redistributes to municipal schools, such as the Newberg one. But the school district also directly receives federal funding under Title I of the No Child Left Behind Act. Special programs are often provided for school funding by the federal government as well. For example, in July, the U.S. Department of Education agreed to provide $374 million to the Oregon Department of Education to distribute to schools, such as Newberg's district. I believe there is a case to be made that the action of these teachers violate the Hatch Act, and I will make the case. But as my goal in this article is to prove a criminal conspiracy case under Oregon law and a RICO case under federal law, I am not focusing as much on this. The Hatch Act violations are occurring, in my view, but you basically have to report every teacher as an individual, so it's not as effective at stopping the organized group. I did want to mention the Hatch Act element of this case, though. How Newberg Public School District teachers in need are violating the Hatch Act. The NEED group published a document with talking points for members, and one of these discusses why they think their activity isn't a violation of the Hatch Act. It actually is, in my opinion, and I'll explain why. The purpose of the talking points document seems to be to guide NEED members in how to discuss the situation to people, especially press, to ensure their narrative is aligned with NEED's propaganda. Here's a post from Kristen Stoller into the group. Letter with facts. This is the talking points PDF, which I'll also be sharing here. There's a bunch of comments they made to it. Okay. Here's part of the talking points document. This is a very important document for the group because it tells their members what to say in the letters that they write to various, whether it's the press or it's school board officials, the public comments. This is part of their organizational structure, is this talking points thing here, okay? and it has links to all the resources and emails. And you'll notice that this has been created by Kristen Stoller and Remy Drabkin. Remy Drabkin is currently on McVinville's City Council. So she's part of this mafia too. Just want to point this out here a bit. Let's see here. There's a part in here where they talk about the Hatch Act and Black Lives Matter. I'm trying to find out where it is because there's so much here. I'll have to find it later. Oh, here it is. It's down here a bit. Black Lives Matter. Okay. U.S. Office of Special Counsel issued an advisory opinion that is not a violation of the Hatch Act for federal employees to show support for the Black Lives Matter movement and the Black Lives Matter global network while on duty, including wearing or displaying materials related to the cause, because they address issues such as racism, which is not inherently aligned with a single political party. That is a false statement, and I'll explain to you why it's a false statement right now. So in these talking points, you can see they dismiss that Black Lives Matter is a literal nonprofit organization with a very specific agenda and message. Their argument is like trying to suggest Nazism has nothing to do with the National Socialist German Workers' Party. Yes, I do think the comparison is accurate, since both Black Lives Matter and the Nazis advocate for an ideology that lays the blame for society's problems at the feet of people of a specific ethnic group, and want to create a segregated society. Nazis blame Jews. Black Lives Matter blames whites. It's the same racist nonsense in a different wrapper. And I wholly reject the idea that one brand of racism is more legitimate than another. They are all wrong and evil ideologies. Also, I don't give a crap what the U.S. Special Counsel says on their website. Black Lives Matter is a political organization. That is why they have a PAC registered under them and shares the exact same name and logo as their organization. See? The exact same logos here. That's literally, you could literally just put these over each other, and they're the same thing. The only thing that's different is this one says PAC on it. It's the literal same logo, okay? Black Lives Matter is a political movement that advocates for critical race theory. It engages in political activism, needs talking points or lies. In any case, in this situation, it doesn't matter if the U.S. Special Counsel considers Black Lives Matter a political organization or not. The moment when the teachers intertwined advocacy for Black Lives Matter with a recall election and formed a PAC, then used the schools to recruit students into their political campaigning, this is when they absolutely did violate the Hatch Act, per the U.S. Special Counsel's own rules on the subject of Black Lives Matter activism. Kristen Stoller, if you had actually read the U.S. Special Counsel's statement on the topic, you would have read the following. But the employees may not. For example, if you believe that Black Lives Matter, then you should vote for or against X in November. The Hatch Act would prohibit an employee from advertising, promoting, or inviting others to attend the fundraiser. This means, yes, in the opinion of the U.S. Special Counsel Office, teachers using school campuses and resources and work hours to demand a recall election of a school board director because the elected official is opposed to Black Lives Matter is in fact violating the Hatch Act. I'd say organizing an intimidation and coercion conspiracy against the elected officials is as well. Even more to the point, had you actually read the Hatch Act itself, you'd have read 5 U.S. Code 7324, Political Activities on Duty, Prohibition. Any employee may not engage in political activity while the employee is on duty. In the preceding section, which is the definitions for what terms mean, the phrase political activity is not defined at all. So it doesn't need to be about partisan political parties, and issue-based political campaigning is still political activity under the federal law. Besides, as I mentioned earlier in the IRS tax code violations section of this article, the activities indeed are partisan politics. Furthermore, it is clear the Recall Brian Shannon campaign is deeply intertwined with Democrat Party political activism. Here's Megan Corvus, who is one of the leaders of Progressive Yamhill, and as she says, a volunteer with Yamhill County Democrats. Involved in local politics in Yamhill since 2016, love seeing so much energy in Newberg. They are part of the canvassing for Brian Shannon's recall. This is Megan Corvus. Yes. This screenshot is the Democrats going to the teacher union, which NEED is an extension of, and asking its members to canvass for the Brian Shannon recall PAC, which, as I pointed out, was filed by Jeff Green, a political campaign consultant for the Democratic Party here in Oregon. Megan Corvus has been a member of the NEED group since July, before the PAC was filed. This is evidence of the Democrats steering the teachers' union towards serving their political agenda, and the union actively participating in that. So yes, I believe they are violating the Hatch Act, especially since they are using school resources like this Facebook page. This was reshared into the Newberg Equity and Education group, okay? This is Edwards Volunteer Organization, covered with the Better Together buttons related to their political campaigning, okay? Facebook page in question, Edwards Volunteer Organization, very obviously a social media page for the school administrators. Its content is Edwards Elementary School Administration announcements. Furthermore, as evident in numerous screenshots I've already shown, the Better Together campaign is organized by NEED and part of the Recall PAC activities too. The teachers are hanging these signs in the school property and campuses. Here's one of them. Here's one of them at Edwards that's being hanged up by the teachers. And of course, the ultimate virtue signal, making TikToks on school property during work hours that are political campaigning. Yes, Angela Spratcher, Chehalem Valley Middle School teacher, from the video. She's got the transracial flags up, okay? I guess I didn't have a link to the actual TikTok. I probably should do that. But she's got Brave Space here, okay? You see that this is a Brave Space, the rainbows here. As you can see, they hang signage in the classrooms that associate being gay with being brave, which is propaganda. In reality, sexual orientation does not necessarily imply positive moral qualities. The signage is designed to cause behavior modification in the students by teaching them to associate being gay with being brave, a desirable moral quality. Then you've also got, another one of the flags in the classrooms as well. Display of the transracial pride flag in the classrooms, which is specifically designed to emphasize black and brown people who are gay, and is therefore even more exclusionary than the original pride flag was. You'll also notice, if you watch the video, the American flag is nowhere in sight in the classroom, which in Oregon is illegal per Oregon Statute 339.875, procurement, display, and salute of flags. These people just don't care about laws. Again, they want to dismantle our society and rebuild it. If you want to report the Newberg Education Association and its teachers for violating the Hatch Act, you can do so at this page, at the special counsel page. Feel free to send them a link to this blog. Maybe if enough people report them, they'll actually investigate. U.S. tax code and union activities violations. Let's talk about the tax code. A 501c5 organization, which is what labor unions are classified as, are allowed to participate in some amount of political lobbying as it specifically relates to their employees and their bargaining with an employer. In this case, the school district. The issue at work in Newberg has nothing at all to do with the employment rights of the teachers. Absolutely nothing to do with it. So then, why is the teacher union president distributing gay pride flags and t-shirts to students and telling them to wear the shirts to school if this has nothing to do with the union's role as an advocate for teachers per U.S. labor code laws? Public schools are limited public forums whose purpose is to educate children, not for teachers to be able to politically protest on the job. In fact, as I will discuss later, it's a violation of both federal and state laws for them to use the schools as their political advocacy platforms. Relevant to Oregon law is 260.432. Now, if anyone in the NEED group wants to protest my interpretation of the group activities, I must ask, why is the teacher union vice president Andrew Gallagher sharing union press releases into the group, as I previously showed he has done? The answer can only be that the NEED group is actually part of the union's activities. It's part of their ability to communicate with the union members. This is an enormous violation of the limitations of their 501c5 tax exemption status as a union. And in my opinion, the IRS should revoke the status, and they should no longer be a union, given their union's primary activity has ceased to be a labor union and is now a political activist organization. It is designed to ensure that parties who are the benefit of federal funding do not abuse this benefit to grossly over-participate in political campaigning, such as which the public employees of the Newberg School District are doing, while their employment status specifically prohibits the types of things they are engaging in as part of this need group. As recently reported by OPB, the Newberg Teacher Union is planning to sue the Newberg School Board over their ban on political symbols. On what grounds does the Newberg Teacher Union have the right to do this? I think it has no right to do so, as this is outside the scope of its activities as a labor union. And its activities in the Need Mafia group show the union is no longer a labor union, and its primary activity is actually political activism. I believe the IRS should revoke its status. Information on how to report the Newberg Education Association, the IRS, is at this link that I have here in the article. Furthermore, it is clear that a Recall Brian Shannon campaign is deeply intertwined with Democrat Party political activism, as previously shown. Megan Corvus here, okay? Megan Corvus, member of Yamhill County Democrats, involved in the political activity of the Democrat Party in Oregon. This is the Democrats going to the union, which Need is an extension of, asking its members, canvass. I know I'm repeating myself, but there's a purpose here, okay? She's been a member since July. There's a purpose why I'm doing this. They're not coincidences. The active participation of Democrats, a partisan political party, representatives in the Need group, an extension of the union, and the union president and vice president leading the charge on a recall campaign set up by the Democrats, makes the union's activities in this political campaign violations of tax code laws. The union's status should be revoked as it has become a political activist group. It uses school campus and resources to engage in political activism and recruits the students into political campaigning activity using the special status of authority that teachers have over the students. And this moves us into coercion of the students by the teachers union to participate in political activities during school hours. The teacher union literally uses the Need group to plan and organize political activities inside the school during work hours, using the students themselves as props. This is done by the teachers using their position of authority over the kids to encourage them to participate, as well as some parents who are members of Need also using their role as parents to encourage the kids. Here's an example from a parent who had their child write into the Newberg graphic with a statement concerning the removal of the American flag from the classroom after the media frenzy focused on Gail Groby's statements to do that very thing in Newberg classrooms. Okay, you can read this yourself here. And here, of course, one of the mothers, the mother of the child, is in the group. Due to the situation involving a published letter, I can't protect the child's identity while also criticizing the exploitation of a minor, which I believe must be done here because this kind of thing is so frequently done by the cult, exploiting children. The mother of the child applauds the child for writing a letter that she says demonstrates critical thinking. In actuality, the letter uses obvious faulty reasoning to establish its premise, and I've highlighted the problems. The child says, it's also true that the American flag is not a uniform symbol because it's been used by the Proud Boys. And then he says the American flag stands for much more than a reactionary nativism and is meant to unite us. But when it begins to be co-opted to stand for insidious political aims, it loses its uniform semiotic meaning. The child has engaged in a composition fallacy, where the argument is made that something is true, that is true of a part of a thing, must therefore be true of the whole of it. Okay? The child suggests that because the Proud Boys wave American flags, this means the symbol has taken on an exclusive meaning to represent their activities. The Proud Boys are a fringe group. They don't represent how the majority of Americans use the flag. Let's contrast this to how the majority of the Need members use the Black Lives Matter and the Pride flags, okay? How they use those things can be representative of how they use them. Continuing on. Furthermore, the Proud Boys' use of the American flag has nothing to do with the way the BLM flag is used. as the BLM flag is the literal logo of an incorporated nonprofit called Black Lives Matter, which advocates critical race theory. That is, the way the Black Lives Matter flag is to be perceived is by the way the group that created symbolism intended that symbolism to be an extension of its message. The group came first, the movement came later. They both champion critical race theory. This is the same reason why use of the Confederate flag, the rebel flag, is associated with the Confederacy, because they created it. It's always amazing to me how compartmentalized these nutcases are, right? They'll try to suggest Black Lives Matter flag doesn't represent the Black Lives Matter organization. At the same time, they'll say the Confederate flag still represents racism because it was created by the Confederacy. And you know what? I actually agree with that assessment. I think that the Confederate flag is a symbol of the Confederacy. I think that it is, okay? I don't use that symbol. I don't really support other people using it either. But they don't see the problem with their philosophy, with their thinking, their viewpoints, with their reasoning, when they try to make a special exception fallacy, special exception claim, for their use of the Black Lives Matter flags, okay? That all goes out the window when it's something they want to do. Let's continue on. Likewise, the pride flag colors are used as a logo for literally hundreds, maybe even thousands, of social activist groups that exclusively promote intersexuality and specifically radical feminism, which as a recent trend has also been co-opted by the Black Lives Matter movement to convince LGBTQ whites to become their accomplices. While that may not be how the majority of people in the world use these symbols to push Black Lives Matter's agenda in the school, the evidence is overwhelming that is how the members of NEED use it. And because the actions of the Newberg School Board are specific to the situation in this school district, the ban is something necessary to try to thwart its agenda, and use of these symbols to teach children to tribalize along sexual orientation, gender, and ethnicity, instead of judging people by the content of their character, which is the common humanity approach the school once taught for generations, and which the NEED cult is undermining with their common enemy rhetoric. Consequently, the child who wrote the letter has been miseducated about how to use logic and has committed the composition fallacy, an extremely well-known fallacy that is one of the first types you're supposed to teach kids. The child has been deprived of learning actual logic because the teacher union has become taken over by a cult that asks the teachers to teach the children its ideology that relies heavily on motivated reasoning to make them easier to manipulate, and then calls this motivated reasoning critical thinking. It is a disgrace, and it's not what the taxpayers are supposed to be funding. The school is not a place for a cult to indoctrinate children into its fringe ideologies that makes it incredibly harder for them to thrive later in life and will be difficult to unlearn. Of course, the children don't know they're being miseducated because the teachers, who are in a cult, reward them for making these kinds of commonplace mistakes in reasoning instead of correcting them. Karen Pugsley, go Tim. I'm one proud principal right now. Susan, the mother, you and so many fantastic Chehalem Valley Middle School teachers and Newberg High School teachers have all greatly impacted Tim's thinking, writing, and his desire to make people look beyond their comfort zones. Thank you. We had one of the best education systems in the state of Oregon in the Newberg School District. So many awards. I mean, it was a great school. And this cult has thrown it into the toilet. By their own admittance, they are teaching the children motivated reasoning instead of critical thinking, logic, and confusing them on what critical thinking actually is. Some parents are more willing to even use their youngest children, kids who are too young to even fully understand what critical race theory is, as a prop to push their own political agendas. Here's Jen Frankamp, who wrote a letter that she put her daughter's name on. Dear board members, my name is such, and I am 6 years old. I'm about to start first grade at Mabel Rush Elementary. My mom told me you were voting tonight. I wanted to write you a letter. Yeah. She didn't write this letter. Her mom wrote it and put her name on it, and shame her for exploiting her own child to earn brownie points on the internet from her cult friends. There is no question in my mind that the Newberg Public School teachers are, as a collective organized by their union, and with the assistance of some parents, using the school as a way to indoctrinate kids into the cult. There is evidence that children are specifically wearing Black Lives Matter and pride flags because the teachers are asking them to do so. Here's a teacher discussing this very thing to manipulate kids into political activism during school hours as a means of circumventing the school board ban. Question: students allowed to decorate outside their lockers? I'm thinking that they are. Let's start designing stickers, banners to show their allies. Since my interpretation of the motion was it banning teachers from displaying pride and BLM items, not students. If I'm wrong, please correct me. How about patches and keychains for backpacks for our younger students? And they all love the idea. This was really about student rights. Then why do the members of NEED have to organize the students into rebelling against the bans? It's obviously not about the students. It's about the cult and its followers. And they are exploiting their role as teachers and parents over the kids to use the kids as props to create a false perception that the political activity is something the kids decided to do entirely on their own. Here's Bethany Gates. My kids will be passing these out at Newberg High School and Chehalem Valley Middle School on the first day of school to anyone who would like one. Got Progress Pride flag stickers and Black Lives Matter stickers. Here's more. We're better together. Sharing more of the stuff, okay? Giving it to all the kids. Who's making all of it? Who's pushing it? They're the ones doing it. Something that I want to point out here. This is from a seminar that the teachers did at the school. Lou Peta is part of this as well, by the way, the Oregon Board of Education vice chair. Distribution of political campaign materials during an in-district seminar for faculty is a violation of the Hatch Act. Furthermore, the screenshot of the laptop is distressing for me, as the curriculum is produced by the National Council for Mental Well-Being, a nonprofit that, in my opinion, masquerades as being about mental health, but is actually a very political organization that pushes critical race theory, as linked to on this page here that I have, where it literally talks about that. And of course, Lou Peta / Guadalupe Martinez Zapata, vice chair of the Oregon Board of Education, was part of that seminar. This activity of political campaigning by public employees during work hours and in the literal place of employment is incredibly illegal per Hatch Act and state law. And I think using the kids to commit their crimes is also evil. Beth McDonough on August 11th, taking action. Newberg Equity and Education aiming to streamline our response. Newberg School Board following their discriminatory action banning BLM and pride flags. We need subcommittees in these areas, student support, organize and lead efforts to encourage Newberg Public School students of color and LGBT students. After the ban language was adopted, they strategized on how to overcome this by what other kinds of images they could use in the classrooms to indoctrinate the children with certain political ideologies. Okay? Here they're talking about unity walls and other things like that. You can read many of this stuff yourself. They've got photos of Harvey Milk, all kinds of stuff, okay? There can be no doubt the NEED Group's core activity is to indoctrinate the school kids into the political activism of the teacher union, and that these activities are for the benefit of the teachers union, not the education of the students. And it's illegal for them to be doing this stuff in the schools during their work hours, in their official capacity as public school teachers with authority over the kids. Per Oregon Statute 260.432, solicitation of public employees. No public employee shall solicit, influence, otherwise promote, or oppose any political committee, the recall petition, the recall of public office holder, while on the job during work hours. This, of course, is violated by the teachers union, using the NEED Group that is both heavily intertwined with the Recall Brian Shannon PAC and the teachers union to mobilize its member base and use their position of authority as public employees over school children. They use the kids as props in the political opposition to the school board via a political committee they have created to oppose another political committee, the school board. Now, I don't know what is going on in the classroom, but based on how these people behave online, I suspect they may be bullying kids into participating in the campaigning. If they are, the group is engaged in a violation of state coercion law. Per Oregon Statute 163.275, coercion. A person commits the crime of coercion when the person compels or induces another person to engage in conduct from which the other person has a legal right to abstain, or to abstain from engaging in conduct in which the other person has a legal right to engage, by means of installing in the other person a fear that if the other person refrains from the conduct, compelled or induced or engages in conduct contrary to the compulsion or inducement, the actor or another will cause or continue a strike, boycott, or other collective action injurious to some person's business, unlawfully use or abuse the person's position as a public servant, such as a teacher, by performing some act within or related to official duties, such as grading you, giving you extra homework assignments. Coercion is a Class C felony. Class C felony. And as we get further into this article, you will see that they have already engaged in coercion. I've shown the evidence, because they did coercion to boycott and have collective actions, get people terminated who are elected officials from their jobs. They've already broken the law. They've already committed felonies. The Need Group has, as a collective whole, as an organized criminal conspiracy, committed a Class C felony. We'll get to that part later on. I know it's a very long article. We'll get there. Stay with me. In addition to the organized intimidation and harassment of businesses that employ or have relations with the conservative majority school board officials, I believe there is also evidence that coercion is taking place against students. This is because teachers are asking students to help the teachers' union protest, up to and including asking them to speak to reporters. Because the teachers have an authority role over the students. They grade their papers, recommend them for special tasks, can burden them with chores and punishments, can give extra credit, etc. It is insanely unethical for teachers to be asking their students to participate in the union's political activities. This is what they are doing using the Need Group. Let's see. Tamara Brookfield posted this. Jamie Dean of the Oregonian would like to interview Newberg students, especially BIPOC and LGBTQ, for stories centered on student experiences. And then this was reshared, of course. Here we have Elaine Hayworth-Koskela, teacher at the school. I have a couple I will ask. I want to be careful. Emily Garrick says back, of course, only those who have capacity and desire to speak more, and whose parents will give permission. And they say, no, that's not much of an issue at Catalyst. A lot are legally adults. Elaine Hayworth-Koskela is a teacher at the Catalyst High School who moved to Newberg from Fresco, California, and clearly brought many of her bad ideas with her. As Elaine has pointed out in her messages, she has to be careful, because what they are doing in the Need Group is probably illegal. Too bad she, like pretty much every other master criminal in the Need Group, are idiots who organized their mafia in a Facebook group that I easily infiltrated. And now, you also have read that they know what they're doing is morally wrong, and they don't want to get caught. That members of the Need are aware that manipulating students to serve their political agenda is something unethical and illegal is part of why I'm making the case the Teachers Union has become a criminal enterprise. The Newberg Education Association IRS status and privileges as a union should therefore be revoked. I know I say this a lot, but this is part of the claims here. I also believe that the Newberg School District should be allowed to replace the entire school district by firing all of the teachers who are in the union, because it is now a criminal enterprise and none of their members have reported it for its illegal activities. None of them have reported them for the legal nonsense they're doing. If the current teacher union is disbanded and the teachers fired for their criminal misconduct, then perhaps the Newberg School District can hire teachers who won't become a bunch of lunatics that indoctrinate children into racist insanity and form a mafia within the school community. An entirely fresh culture within the school is needed to root this corruption out of the school system, and I don't see how that is possible if a single one of these teachers and administrators is allowed to remain. Yes, that includes Newberg School District Superintendent Joe Morlock. I have some ideas on some trendy hashtags people can use to voice their support of what I'm suggesting. Hashtag Fire Newberg Teachers. Hashtag Jail Newberg Teachers. Hashtag Restore Common Humanity. Hashtag Restore Law and Order. Hashtag Save the Republic. Hashtag Save America. Joe Morlock's connections to Need. Joe Morlock is not a member of NEED insofar as he is a member of the Facebook group. As previously mentioned, he does have ties to prominent members of NEED, such as his business relationship with Kristen Stoller's nonprofit, Newberg Education Foundation. Communications by NEED members give us insight in reasons why he is not a Facebook member of the group, despite having ties to its leadership. Here's Taylor Simmons, unsure if anyone else sent emails to Morlock regarding recalling Brian Shannon and other board members, and so she's basically sent an email to Morlock about why she's so upset about him. Other members come in and say, I have to disagree. This is Katie Mary. From all members of student and staff, Joe continues to be a great ally, but he is in a very risky place at the moment. All the rumors and people on the board side are calling for him to be fired. Then they could hire someone with their views, and we would have an even harder time protecting our students. Protecting, right? Indoctrinating. Probably, I think, there's something more we can all do. But with his role being jeopardized, I understand him being careful about his words and actions. And there's more conversations here. He's got a toe of a line right now as the board is looking for any reason to fire him. Diana Saracen says, right now, Dr. Joe is what is standing between them and the actual implementation of the new policy. The teachers and staff know which side he is on, and he is doing more good still in the position than out of it. Here we are, them saying, the only way for us to get rid of Brian Shannon and others and get the school board back on the correct side of history would be for them to resign or get voted out. And then one person says, we need him and his compassion, referring to Joe Morlock. There's more conversations here, too. Here's Amanda Lamb. I have worked with him directly on several occasions and know him to be a strong advocate. Here is, it's comfort to know his views align with us. Here's Kelly Belcher saying, the situation is frustrating, but Dr. Joe is our ally. He is their one employee, as Brian Shannon refers to him. If we lose Dr. Joe, the board majority will get to select a new super, and that is incredibly frightening for our school community. Frightening for their community. Their community being their mob, their mafia. Okay? They say that his hands are tied. I believe he has done an outstanding job of supporting our district. He's walking a fine line. So, Joe has been a kind, important ally for us. He's been working so hard to turn the ship around, and he's working very strategically. He's spoken bravely, directly, and truthfully against their actions. Joe Morlock was very direct in telling the board he would not carry out their directive. As you can see, when a newer NEED member discusses Joe Morlock, the rest of the older members inform that member Morlock is their ally and working strategically against his own employers to undermine the board's votes. More information about the activities of Joe Morlock the NEED members support. Owen Lowe posted on September 11th, if Joe were to be fired by the four, what kind of response would be supported by staff? What community response might happen? And they talk about how, they'll have to pay out his salary and contract and things like that, and how they don't want that to happen, how he's their ally. Lots of stuff like that. We as a community will experience a great loss. That's Lou Pita, by the way, Vice Chair, Oregon Board of Education. We'll experience a great loss. We expect, here's Elaine Hayworth-Koskila saying, we expect them to listen to Dr. Joe. They need to learn how to do their jobs or get off the board. That's right, Superintendent. He gets to decide what's going on. Not the elected officials. Not the ones who represent the taxpayers. No. It's Mr. Morlock gets to make all his own choices by himself. He rebuilt budget structures and a future plan for updating curriculum. Ooh, the curriculum is a big deal. With Dr. Derek Brown, they went through a process with all K-12 teachers to go over standards, how to meet them each year, how to best hand off the new teacher the following year. They have purchased math curriculum that best fits these good goals. Oh, math curriculum, huh? As a reminder, Lupita Guadalupe Martinez Zapata, Vice Chair, Oregon Board of Education. Increasing the budget for the school is all well and fine. The curriculum changes are another story. The way people do math has not radically changed. Given the ideological alignment of the NEED group, this makes me wonder if this new curriculum is the critical race theory math curriculum, where children have different grading standards based on their ethnicity. If you don't know what I'm referring to, there's a link to that right here where you can read more about that. These are questions I have that still require some answers. Other important need members include county and state officials. Other people should be mentioned among ranks of the Newberg Need Mafia is Deborah Bridges, who is a member of the Oregon Attorney General Task Force on Victims' Rights Enforcement. See, she's a member of the group right there. She previously ran for election using this page. There's her Facebook page. Okay. Deborah Bridges' husband is Attorney John Bridges, who operates a law firm in Newberg, or at least he does for the moment. I suppose we shall see how things go from here on, now that Deborah Bridges' involvement has been exposed as a member of this criminal enterprise called Need. Another member is Andre, who goes by Dre Miller, who works as a community justice organizer for Portland Commissioner Joanne Hardesty. He's an active agitator of the group. And there, you see that he's a member of the group. There's his LinkedIn page, okay? And here's some messages he puts in here. I strongly suggest everyone send an email to Tammy Aaron and all these other people, legislators, okay? Report them to a hotline. Here's Ty Hard Moore's post, and he's applauding her for giving great testimony. This Trumpster that went after you, though, this is from the September 14th school board meeting with public comments. He's referring to me as the Trumpster, by the way, because I called Tay Hard and Moore out during my public comments at that school board meeting. I am not a Trumpster. I am actually a registered Democrat. I did not vote for Trump in the last election, or anyone. I didn't vote for Biden either. I didn't vote for any of these assholes. Presently, I'm disgusted by the directions of both political parties, and I think we need a new one. I'm very serious that I think that there needs to be a new party to replace either the Republicans or the Democrats. And this party needs to be based of moderate, sensible people. Another key member of the Need group is County Commissioner for Yamhill County, Casey Kula. See that he's a member right there? He's been a member since July 14th, 2020. Yes. Here's proof he's active in the group. He's liking all of his posts. He's liking the November 10th, 2020 board meeting posts. Here is some of Casey Kula's platform on his public Facebook page, where he specifically talks about equity, which, as I previously explained to you before, is used by critical race theorists as a code word for black separatist idealism of segregation. Okay? He's got all that conversations. He's also currently trying to run for Oregon governor. He's trying to get that nomination. Don't know how well those plans are going to go now that he's been revealed to be part of a criminal conspiracy in Newberg, but let's see how that plays out. Anyway, it shouldn't surprise you at all to learn Casey Kula has used his position and platform to support the agenda of the Need criminal conspiracy. It's a post right here where he says a statement about the Newberg School Board's recent decision to ban BLM stuff. He wants it. He supports the recall and all that. Yamhill County Commissioner Casey Kula is just another one of his cultists who has been convinced he owes a blood debt to other people for things that happened in the past, which he had nothing to do with, and who, as an ally accomplice, is helping the Black Lives Matter movement dismantle and rebuild America for segregation. The other major individual in this puzzle piece is Guadalupe Martinez Zapata, Vice Chair of the Oregon Department of Education. I believe she has been on the board since 2018. She seems to believe that posting as the Facebook username Lupita can hide her activities from the public. But she used a photo of her own face with the account she posted into the Newberg Equity and Education Facebook group, as well as a username that is mentioned as a pet name, or maybe a tribal name, I really couldn't tell, on her bio on the state website page featuring her. Here she is on the state page, it's a copy of it, okay, same person. And she says, Lupita, as her mother insisted she be called, made her very easy to identify. Here's one of her messages to the Mafia group. She's bitching about Dave Brown here. Okay, and then here's another one where she's commenting in the group. This one's not as important. We'll get to one of the important ones. But let me ask you this very important question. Why is Guadalupe Martinez Zapata, the Vice Chair of the Department of Oregon Education, trash-talking a Newberg School District Council member in a group that is doxing and harassing him, getting him and other city council members fired from jobs, isolated from the community by pressuring businesses, and then rewarding those businesses that sever ties by having its Mafia members purchase products from them? And why is she a participant in a group that is engaging in illegal political activity designed to intimidate voters, the school board members, and public officials to pressure them into changing their votes and or resigning? Why does she not report it to the authorities, but instead fans the flames by trash-talking the same council members that are the victims of these crimes? Oregon State Board of Education is comprised of 7 members appointed by the governor and confirmed by the state senate. There are restrictions on public employees, such as those appointed. Department of Education governed by the Solicitation of Public Employees statute. Now, if she was a normal public employee and her comments were made during her working hours, then she violated this law. If they were made after working hours, normally a public employee wouldn't be considered to violate this particular statute. However, she, Guadalupe Martinez Zapata, is a board-appointed public employee. And as such, she is considered under Oregon law to always be on duty when she is acting in any way related to the job duties of that appointment. An appointed board member and commissioners are considered public employees when acting in their official capacity. There are no working hours limitation for the appointed member of the Oregon Department of Education who is the vice chair. Anytime Guadalupe Martinez Zapata is representing herself before teachers or discussing a matter related to the administration and operation of a school district, she is on the job. Her authority in the need group is based on her appointment to the board. Thus, she is acting in an official capacity before the teachers in the group. She is presenting her statements as those of the Oregon Department of Education she represents, which has the impact of influencing this group of primarily teachers that idolize every word she says due to her position on the Oregon Department of Education board. Therefore, Guadalupe Martinez Zapata has violated Oregon Statute 260.432, Solicitation of Public Employees, numerous times, in fact. She commits the crime of she also, because she's violated this, committed another crime, right? There's a specific crime for this. She has committed 162.415, official misconduct in the first degree. A public servant commits the crime of official misconduct in the first degree if, with the intent to obtain a benefit or to harm another, the public servant knowingly performs an act constituting an unauthorized exercise in official duties. It is a Class A misdemeanor. Guadalupe Martinez Zapata's statements are both unauthorized commentary on a political situation involving a lawful municipal school board vote and decision, which she is telling other people is actually illegal. It's not. Zapata then insults the people she disagrees with, tells the members of NEED, which consists of many of the faculty of the Newberg School District, that her goal is to dismantle American society and rebuild it, and they need to help her do this. It's all incredibly illegal. Engaging in seditious acts. That's how we move into seditious acts, because that's how you'll really start to understand what's going on here. I know it's taken a couple hours to get to this point. When you get to this point of the article, you understand this is about sedation. Let's look at what she's writing to these teachers to justify the encouragement of crimes they are committing in harassing the elected school board members in an effort to force them to change their votes. Our country needs not to be Frankenstein. It needs to be rebuilt in a fashion fits our real needs. I read this section before in a previous part of in the previous video. What she has said here makes her involvement in the NEED group and by extension its activities influenced by her to be considered seditious acts. Oregon Statute 182.030, employment of persons advocating a violent overthrow of the government of the United States of Oregon prohibited. No State Department Board Commission shall knowingly employ any person who either directly or indirectly carries on, advocates, teaches, justifies, aids, or abets a program of sabotage against the government of the United States or the state of Oregon. It doesn't have to be about violence. It just has to be a program of sabotage, such as which this criminal conspiracy in the Newberg Equity and Education group she's been a member of for about a year has been doing. I believe the statements and activities of Guadalupe Martinez Zapata, along with her active participation in a group that has doxed, harassed, intimidated elected officials on the Newberg School Board with the goal of compelling them to change their votes or resign, is evidence of advocating, teaching, justifying, and aiding a program of sabotage against the government of the state of Oregon, which municipal governments are part of. Furthermore, there is obviously an enormous conflict of interest in her participation in this Facebook group, where so many other elected and appointed officials in the city of Newberg and surrounding areas, such as County Commissioner for Yamhill County Casey Kula, Newberg City Council members, and Newberg School District Board members are participating in. Here's some more select quotes that exposes her racist ideology, desire to subvert the democratic process, using her position, which she has shared to encourage the illegal activities of NEED. These are posted within the NEED group, okay? It's not you as an individual in particular, though definitely most of us in this group and in this community have a whole ton of growing learning to do. I'm not targeting one individual, though I am targeting few components of whiteness that I think are counterinductive to racial equity. Don't come back until you're able to disarm your backfire effect. If applicable, acknowledge white fragility, blah, blah, blah. Black Lives Matter movement is, in fact, very much anti-police establishment. There's no compromise to that, just like there isn't a compromise to systemic racism being real. Discomfort. If you're uncomfortable, then you're complacent. And whiteness is supreme versus the change that she thinks needs to happen. I'm speaking from my own lived experience as a race and critical race theory in education scholar. Even within the world of critical race theory scholars, there's dissent and viewpoints and blah, blah, blah. So basically, she's made it very clear that she is teaching critical race theory. She's a scholar. She's very racist against white people. And her goal is separatism. Here she is saying, the truth of the matter is that there is no part of our society that isn't complicit or part of the problem. The U.S. was built for and to the benefit of white Americans. Every last nail of its construction. Our country needs not to be Frankensteined. It needs to be rebuilt in a fashion that fits our real needs. Guadalupe Martinez Zapata, the vice chair of the Department of Oregon Education, has said every part of American government is complacent in racism. America must be rebuilt to suit her needs. If you had any doubt, she's doing this to motivate people to keep up the campaign to harass the Newberg School Board members who voted to remove the political symbols. Here you go. Here she is encouraging them to harass Dave and Brian. Here's another one. These are things I see as important at the moment. August 11th post that she made in the group. Directive may likely be unenforceable by the district. As you heard Dr. Morlock say, it's not true, but let's continue on. After its implication and legalities are checked out, the impact is real. The people will need immediate support. Those who feel threatened, excluded, further pushed out and hated, knowing how the board is supposed to. She says, Inez, Brandy, and Rebecca are heroes, and that we need to make them feel that way in as many ways as possible. Now, the Newberg School Board resolution to place limitations on political symbols on school property is not illegal, and there is no credible reason to believe it's illegal. Per Supreme Court ruling Hazelwood versus Kohlmeyer, a very well-known Supreme Court ruling, by the way, schools are limited public forums, and school boards have the right to restrict freedom of speech on the campuses when that speech distracts from the goals of teaching students how to become productive contributors to the Republic. That's not my opinion. That's literally the Supreme Court's opinion. If it distracts from the goal of teaching students to become productive contributors to our Republic, then they can ban it from the campus. The school board has complete legal authority to ban Black Lives Matter and pride flags on campuses because they are political symbols, and the ideology expressed by BLM, critical race theory, is literally about dismantling the Republic. As an appointee to the Department of Education, she is aware of the laws related to schools. It is literally her job to ensure that the Department of Education complies with laws and Supreme Court rulings on these laws, such as Hazelwood versus Kuhlmeyer. Nor can she, as an official, feign ignorance of laws any more than a police officer or judge can to excuse what she has done here. She has no business, as a Department of Education appointee, telling a group of teachers in the school district that the action is illegal with the intention of motivating the members of NEED to spread this false information concerning the legality of a school board utilizing its right to restrict some free speech on school campuses per Hazelwood versus Kuhlmeyer. This is not an obscure law. This is a major law impacting schools. Of course, she hates the measure because she wants children to be indoctrinated into critical race theory, so the children will turn against the Republic because she wants it rebuilt. And part of this organized plan to rebuild America as a racist, ethnically separatist society is the indoctrination of children into the political messaging associated with these flags. At any result, I believe Guadalupe Martinez Zapata, the Vice Chair of the Department of Oregon Education, has committed following violation of Oregon law in her statements. Oregon Statute 260.532, false publication related to a candidate or measure. Now let's break down why I believe this is a violation. She's very involved in several PACs, should be legally regarded as an extension of these PACs activities. Needs activities should be regarded as an extension of the PACs, just as an extension of the union. Highly unethical and illegal behavior, by the way. Because the statements made by Guadalupe Martinez Zapata are a contribution to a PAC recall effort, her speech is bound by Oregon's campaign finance laws. These are of the stated penalties for the violation of this law. Okay? Plaintiff may recover economic, non-economic damages. So basically, school board members can sue them personally for violating these campaign finance laws. Furthermore, Guadalupe Martinez Zapata is an appointee to the Oregon Department of Education Board of Directors. As the vice chair of the board, her statements related to a matter of the department's business, governments, and regulation of schools are therefore to be viewed as representing the Oregon Department of Education. There is therefore evidence of an organized conspiracy against the Newberg School Board that has been orchestrated by the Oregon Department of Education, whom she represents, violations of campaign finance laws, and therefore the school board can sue Oregon Department of Education as well. There's no doubt that Guadalupe Martinez Zapata is heavily involved in the activities in the NEED group and has been for a long time, such as this post back to October 20th, 2020. Here's Beth McDonough saying thank you for facilitating a meeting with us. Karen Pugsley is an administrator of the school too, because she's mentioned in this. She's also in the group. Oregon Board of Education abuses to assist NEED. I'll have to read this in the next part because it's already an hour-and-a-half long video, so there'll be a part 3 where I continue on. Thanks so much for watching this part, and I hope that you stick with it.